Hello, everyone. Good day, and welcome to our highly anticipated webinar on the intricacies of e-invoicing in Malaysia. So, this webinar is brought to you by Taxilla, and today we are set to discuss the complexities and requirements mandated by the IRBM, focusing on the data fields necessary for creating e-invoices and the detailed workflows that businesses need to integrate into their systems. So our session today promises an in-depth exploration into the e-invoicing data model, and we will delve into the specific data specifications required for e-invoicing, ensuring you have the foundation to streamline your invoicing process efficiently. So, quick introduction about our speakers. Bharat, and a distinguished product manager known for transforming finance through innovative e-invoice solutions, majorly in APAC, Africa, and Europe region. He excels in turning compliance into opportunity, enhancing data quality, and streamlining business processes. Following him, I have Venkat with me, an adapt enterprise sales manager with a proven track record in e-invoicing solutions. He will share his insights on queries related to sales and partnerships. Without any further ado, Bharat, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Rohini. Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar. Quick introduction about Taxilla. We are a RegTech platform and we are certified PayPal access point provider uh, with ISO certification and SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We ensure that your data is secured. And we work with different partners in various regions apart from directly serving our customers. And we offer our services as both platform as a service and software as a service based on the company size or the model you want. You can pick the offering. E-invoice, we have to clearly mention whether this e-invoice is a regular invoice, credit note, or debit note, or refund note, or if it belongs to a self-billed invoice. So these are the new codes. 11, 12, 13, 14 are the new codes which added in the latest SDK, which were not there in the earlier published document. Right? And I'm talking about classification. So in case of self-billing, right, whether self-billing is you are doing because of in order to record your expenses against the imports, or self-billing, you are doing in order to record your expense for the payments made against the agents, dealers, or distributors. So for all these scenarios, you have the classification code. So whenever you raise a self-billing invoice, you have to clearly mention this particular code so that that will be recorded as an expense in your transactions, right? And tax type. So you have to define whether the tax is applicable is sales tax, service tax, or tourism tax. So it is very essential to understand these values and ensure that your ERP systems are handling these values. In case if they are not handling these values, you are not willing to make changes to the ERP system. That is where a middleware like Taxilla will come into picture, where we provide data enrichment rules so that you can generate e-invoice as per the IRBM guidelines, right? So, and finally, this is the XML file which will be generated, right? This is the sample format of the XML which will be generated which should be generated and submitted to IRBM. Let me quickly explain what we offer exactly as a part of e-invoice, right? What is the additional value addition things we will do when we compare it with the other competitors or the regular solution from the ERP. So we prepare IRBM compliant data, whether you have a single source or multiple source, doesn't matter. Whatever the data, whatever systems you have, will be able to take the data from those systems in as is format and then transform it to the IRBM compliant data. It's not only that you have seen we have already identified various validations required on each field. So we'll also validate the invoice data before submitting it to the IRBM. And there is option to generate consolidated invoice in the context of B2C invoices or non-E invoices. So you can generate this consolidated invoice at central location or branch level and submit it to IRBM. Now, we have already evaluated the APIs published by the IRBM, and we are ready with our solution, except that we are not able to communicate with the APIs because access credentials are not yet released by the IRBM. So once the access credentials are released, we'll be able to send the invoice data to IRBM, and also we'll be able to receive the automated notifications and which we can relay it back to your source system. So you'll be loading data to Taxilla as a raw file, and we do the transformation validation. If all the validations are passed, then we will do another validation. So this yellow orange represents the interaction with the IRBM APIs. Green represents the source system, and blue represents the operations happening in Taxilla. So we'll validate the data first, and if all the validations are passed, then we will do the TIN number validation with the IRBM API. Once this validation is completed, then we will prepare the IRBM compliant XML or JSON file, which is as per UBL 2.1, and will digitally that XML will be digitally signed, and hash will be calculated. All these values will be submitted to IRBM. Now, once the IRBM validates this data, if everything is clear, we'll receive a unique ID, issue date, and a validation link, which need to be converted to QR code. If there is this information, whatever we receive from the IRBM as a part of success response, this can be sent back to the ERP in whatever preferred channel we have seen just now, or we can directly generate the PDF by converting the validation link to the QR code, or we can e-deliver it to your uh, customers via email or over PayPal network. And when we send an email, we can also send a link for them to reject that invoice within 72 hours, right? So all these options we will provide. Now let's look at the purchase side flow, right? You are down now. IRBM is providing an option to download your purchase invoices. Now this is a good opportunity for you to start thinking of AP automation by eliminating the manual process of entering data from PDF to your accounting system, or using some kind of OCR, extracting the data from PDF and loading into the system. All those inefficient process, we can do away with those things, and then adopt this IRBM provided API to download your purchase invoice directly from the IRBM, and then do the validation. Let's say if you want us to do certain validations, like our invoice has to be validated with some bank transaction to confirm that this is not a fraud invoice. So all those validations can be implemented will be implemented in our e-invoice application, and you can opt to choose whether you want those validations or not, right? Now, along with those validations, we'll also be enabling workflows in this e-invoice application. If you want to have some certain configurations, like a invoice with high value need to be approved by a procurement manager or finance manager. So all those scenarios we can configure it in the e-invoice application. Once everything is cleared, the purchase invoice will be transformed to your source system format and posted to your source system in your preferred integration channel, whether it's a REST API or FTP. And this way, you will start automating the AP invoicing process. And eventually, once all taxpayers are coming under the mandate, you will have the complete automation in place. Now, once this invoice is submitted to invoice is loaded to your ERP systems, if you find some discrepancies, or even if before that, even if some discrepancies are found within Taxilla itself, validations, uh, then the invoice can be automatically rejected, or you can reject that invoice from your ERP within 72 hours. So in those cases, you will send a reject notification to Taxilla with the appropriate reason, and that will be submitted to IRBM in order to reject that invoice. Now, this reject notification will be sent to supplier. Now, supplier can cancel that invoice. Let's look at in detail what happens in this e-invoice application in case of purchase flow. So this is the detailed flow. So we'll receive invoices from the IRBM. You see it represented with the yellow orange. So all these invoices will be received from the IRBM, and we'll do a rule-based validations in way matching. And if all the validations are passed, we will take it through a configurable workflow, right? Whatever workflow you configured, if there is no workflow configured for you, this step will be skipped. And next, all the invoices will be transformed to your accounts payable system format, and then posted it to your accounts payable system where you actually receive that invoices, right? Now, in between, if there is a rejection or validation failure, then a reject notification will be automatically sent to the IRBM. Whenever a reject notification is received from the IRBM, we will trigger an email notification to the authorized user within your organization so that they can review that reject notification and take an appropriate decision to cancel or not to cancel. So this is the flow for consolidated e-invoice. So that's a quick overview of the e-invoice data model and the different workflows, how you can enable it from your ERP systems using Taxilla middleware. So that's what we have seen now. In case if you have any questions, I can take it up.
So Bharat, I received one question. So
Yeah.
what fields to use for self-billing?
Okay. So there is a field called classification, which need to be mentioned against the line item, right? In that classification, you will mention a code, whether the self-billing invoice is for importing the goods or for some other reason, like you are issuing a dividend. So you have to select the appropriate reason and issue the self-bill invoice. So in short, it is a classification field which you need to use at line item level.
All right. So Bharat, I think this is something that you have to address, like in what format or which format you accept the data.
Okay. So that is one important thing which is bothering for all taxpayers right now, because they have to generate data in IRBM compliant format. So in that context, Taxilla doesn't specify any format, like whatever the format which is there in your existing ERP systems, we can accept the format as it is, as long as we are able to derive the required information to submit invoice to the IRBM. So it can be any format, XML, CSV, JSON, whatever format which is there from the ERP systems.
Any other questions left, or I think there are no other questions left. And thank you so much, Bharat, for an extensive knowledge sharing session.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a very good day. Bharat, any closing pointers?
Yeah. So just want to um, just want to highlight that we are approaching the deadline. So the first step in the process is to identify the gaps in the data field. So if you want some free consultation from us to identify the gaps and make you ready, we are ready to help you out. You can reach out to me or Venkat Sai. I'm always active on LinkedIn. You can send personal messages to me on LinkedIn as well. We are here to help you and make you live and stay compliant with the e-invoice regulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Bharat. Thanks, Venkat. Thank you all. Have a very great day.